It's time for football, and that means we're talking sports. Horse racing, greyhound racing, and sports betting with your host, Kip Keefer. Don't just watch the action. Get out to Birmingham Greyhound Racing and put a bet on it. Here are today's tips and strategies to help you get in the winning game. Now here's Kip Keefer.
It's our championship edition of the college football world. The big game coming up on Monday, and we're going to give you everything you need to be informed and really add to your enjoyment of the culmination of the college football season. Kip Keefer, welcome to Talking Sports on this Saturday morning. And hello again, everybody. Look who we got here, Herb Winches.
Don't be stealing my signature opening.
I just always wanted to do that on there. Hello again, everybody.
Okay, you got it.
That's
it. Hi, everybody. Glad to be with you today.
Herb Winches needs no introduction, of course. I always say that he's not old enough to be the founding father of modern Birmingham media, but that's certainly what he is.
Check that. I just had a birthday, so I do officially qualify as old. I'll tell you, Kip, I think it's going to be, we were treated to a wonderful bowl season.
Yes.
A lot of excitement, and, of course, the culmination, as you said, is the build-up toward this championship game coming up in 2 days. It seems like it's been 2 months. I mean, this thing is really since the semifinals. It's dragged on, but thank goodness we're only about 48 hours away from the big one.
Yeah, and, it's funny because I've even heard people complain, why would they wait a week? It's trying to hype the game more. But, it is the championship game, so I kind of like the build-up. It's like the Super Bowl. They experimented with just doing it the very next week, and it just wasn't the same. It was like rushed. So I think we'll get used to this. I like it.
Well, the only thing I don't like, if it's a team I like, the line has been, it's inflating.
Oh, good gracious.
My goodness, LSU opened 3. It's now gone to, 6.5?
6.5 this morning. Wow. To see a line double and more than double, I mean, that just shows you the immense support and belief folks have in this LSU team.
Well, let's be honest. It's 70 miles from Baton Rouge to New Orleans.
Yes.
It's a home game in a sense, and I think this is whether it's the Sharps or the public, but that's what they're reading into this. This is an LSU home game come Monday night.
Yeah, we talked about a little bit before the show. Clemson up to 6.5. This is a team that's the defending national champion. They've won 29 games in a row. They're almost getting the line to the point where you really have to think about taking Clemson.
You really do, and that's what Vegas is wanting. They're shoving up. They're trying to draw some of that Clemson money. And I will tell you, like you said, 29 in a row, the defending national champion, and the narrative all season long, if you followed it closely, Dabo Swinney has used it to his benefit that we're disrespected, and it's worked for him. He's had these kids playing lights out, and he's going to use it again. Oh, look at this. We're the defending national champion. We've won 29 in a row, and we're almost a touchdown underdog, and he's going to use it, I promise you.
Well, very likely, too. I mean, not only are the teams coming in undefeated and again, the 29-game winning streak, the way LSU has demolished everybody in their path, but also my great media partner, Terry Quillian, made a good point this morning that this is a fascinating quarterback matchup, too, because you got Joe Burrow, the for sure first pick in this draft, and Trevor Lawrence, who's almost a slam dunk to be the first pick in next year's draft.
No question about that. And I feel sorry in a way for Joe, but I am happy for him because he's going to go to the Bengals. There's no question about that. And I think he's the guy that maybe can turn it around. He's a native Ohioan. He's going back home. That's going to be a great fit in Cincinnati. I think they're excited about what they're getting, and they should be. He's not only a great football player and a great football mind, but he's a great individual.
Herb, let's talk about the semifinal games, how they got here.
Okay.
LSU, of course, in Atlanta, just completely overwhelmed Oklahoma. It's inconceivable thinking back to that game that Joe Burrow could throw not just 5, not just 6, not 7, but 8 touchdown passes against allegedly the 4th best team in the country. It was just incredible.
Well, let me go on your word, allegedly.
Okay.
They got there by default because Utah stumbled.
That's right.
And they weren't. I'll give them credit. Jalen Hurts did a great job getting to that point, but we knew that their defense wasn't very strong, and we knew that they just weren't going to advance. And Oklahoma's done this thing 4 times now, and they've still not made it to the championship round. Lincoln Riley's got some work to do, and there's a lot of rumor out there that he may be leaving, going to the NFL. I don't believe that. his job's not finished at Oklahoma until he completes it and completes it. I mean, get to the championship and win a national title. But anyway, I wasn't shocked. Was I shocked at how quickly it was over? Yeah, but I wasn't shocked that LSU won.
The other game, of course, was a classic, Clemson and Ohio State. Ohio State jumping up 16-0, really kind of frittering away great opportunities to make that a lot bigger margin. Dobbins, the great running back, dropped 2 for sure touchdown passes. They settled for field goals, and you've been around football all your life. That always comes back to bite you, it seems.
You can't trade 3s for 7s. It just doesn't add up. The math doesn't work. But the thing about that game, and you're hearing all the conspiracy theorists out there talk about, now I will say, the targeting call, that was legit. The only call that I questioned was the fumble.
Yes.
That was taken in for a touchdown from about 18 yards out. To me, they talk about taking 2 strides forward.
Making a football move.
A football move forward, which I thought he did. The ball was knocked loose, and, of course, it was overruled, and they reversed that call. And I thought that was it just sucked the energy out of Ohio State from that point on.
Because they really needed a big play. And that's, if you watch Ohio State over the years, it seems like a lot of their games, that always happens. They make some monumental return or block a kick or do something. Like you said, that almost like pulled the plug on any energy they had left.
You could just sense it. And, even sitting at home and watching it, you could just say, oh, boy, that just really killed any energy and electricity they had. And they really had the thing going their way. So, anyway, congratulations to Clemson. Dabo, what else can you say about him? Of course, I'm dating myself, but I was there when he played in '92 for Gene Stallings, and he was a walk-on and got some playing time. And it was Gene Stallings that later got him to get out of the private industry. He was selling insurance or mortgages or something like that, and said, you need to be a football coach. I think that was a pretty good decision last time I checked.
I would say so. We're going to break this game down, all the X's and O's. Stay with us. Keefer, Herb Winches, right back after this short timeout. Welcome back, everybody. It's Talking Sports. We are in the championship edition, talking college football. We are brought to you by, of course, Birmingham Greyhound Racing, action capital of the South. And this segment is sponsored by Kemco, the go-to guys for anything your business needs, your office, your plant. Herb Winches has used Kemco down at his restaurant, The Landing at Parker Creek, which when we're going to reopen there?
April 17th. That's our season opener.
Get down to Lake Martin and come see. This is the ultimate restaurateur right here. He joked with me last year that his main job was taking out the trash, but
taking out the trash and being a Walmart greeter at the door. But okay.
Awesome. So anyway, Kemco came and helped you out with some issues. They're just I call them the Swiss Army knife of companies that can help you. Give them a call. Family-owned business, great folks. Kemco sponsoring this segment. Herb, we talked in the opening about the kind of the overview of the game. You mentioned a big factor in my mind that this game's being played in the Superdome. How crazy is New Orleans going to be? The couple days and the day of the game, probably already crazy. But what about by Monday night?
Well, it's a night game Monday night. They've been drinking all day. I would tell you a quick story that happened to me when I went to a Saints game last year.
Okay.
Before the play, real quick. Same situation. They were playing in the evening. I took my family down. We got tickets, and where I sat, and people have been drinking all day.
Oh, boy.
A lady behind me had been drinking those Hurricanes.
I know.
Do I need to finish the story?
I'm having bad visions.
I had to leave at halftime because I was covered. And you know, but anyway, be that as it may, it'll be a wild time in New Orleans. And, you got to think about this too, Kip. It's a fast track. That's a fast place, the Superdome. Everybody looks faster than they really are, and I don't know how much quicker either one of these teams can look. So I want to ask you, what do you think the key is going to be for both football teams? I have an opinion. I want to know yours.
Yeah, I think I don't think there's any doubt, even though Clemson's defense is very good, LSU's going to score on anybody.
Sure.
My question is, how effective is Clemson's offense going to be against what I still consider a little bit of a sketchy LSU defense? Now, the DC Arnott has done a good job of getting them to play better as the season's gone on, but I wonder about in kind of a shootout scenario game how well they're going to hold up. LSU, I mean, Clemson's got a lot of weapons. Their receiver core is outstanding, and Trevor Lawrence had really showed another dimension to his game last week when he ran a 55-yard touchdown run. I mean, that was amazing.
And outrun some of the defensive backs that had an angle on him, and he still outran them to score there. Here's what I think. As an old running back, I'm looking at the two running backs in this game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is he healthy? He is. They've had all this time in between the last game that now he is healthy.
That really helped.
He played very sparingly.
Yes, he did.
Once LSU got the game in hand with Oklahoma, smart call by Easy Ed. That's what I call Coach O. Coach O pulled him
Tigers.
out. Yeah, he pulled him out. And he said, let's rest him. I understand he's 100% healthy.
Great. That's a
the
big
key to this game is going to be the running backs. On the other side, Travis Etienne. I think these are two of the best backs I've seen in a long time in college football. And you know, when you can run the ball effectively, what can you do then? You can throw it.
It opens it up.
You can throw it.
And again, a quarterback that can pull the ball down, as Burrow has shown, and now Trevor Lawrence has kind of displayed. That also lends itself to huge plays, and Joe Burrow is just the master of keeping plays alive. He's like a Ben Roethlisberger without the size. He just keeps the play alive and finds just an unbelievable core of receivers. They have Chase and Jefferson and Marshall, and Randy Moss's son is the tight end.
The tight end, yeah.
So really an incredible array of weapons. I think LSU's going to score. My question is, can Clemson stay with them?
I agree with that assessment. I think it's going to boil down a lot to that, and apparently the Sharps in Vegas feel the same way. That's why that line continues to rise. Now, here's a point I want to make. I watched almost, I won't say every bowl game, but the majority of them, and I took notes. The ACC, how do you think they did? They had 10 teams in the postseason. What do you think the record was overall?
It's something around 3-7 or 4-6.
4-6,
Yep.
You got it. The SEC had 9 teams in. How did they do?
7-2.
Yeah, thank you, Auburn. I appreciate you letting us know.
And Mississippi State. Joe Moorhead, nice parting shot there.
Yeah, it cost him his job, no doubt about it.
Losing
so the
Louisville.
SEC was 7-2.
Yes.
The ACC 4-6. Now you can say, well, that doesn't make any difference.
It
This stands on it's the competition. They almost lost that game to North Carolina, but more importantly, I think it was a weak league.
Yes.
Now, is it going to show up? And Clemson, of course, is so much better than anybody else in the Atlantic Coast. But you know what? LSU turned out to be so much better than anybody else in the SEC. Which conference do you think is a little better?
SEC.
You got it.
That's
so
right.
That might be a bias on our part, but that's kind of the way I'm looking at the game. Now, I saw the total this morning. It was nearly 70.
Unbelievable.
It'll probably move to 70. I wouldn't have anything to do with that. I think you've got to go with one side
under.
or there.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be. It's a lot of points to score. Anyway,
Well,
so that's the point I'm making there. That's why I think LSU wins.
Well, to wrap this segment up real quick, I think LSU's kind of the team of destiny.
Yep.
They're a team that seems to be self-propelled. They don't need to be motivated. They come to play every single week. It's been an amazing – they just haven't had any fall off all year. I expect LSU to win, but I don't think Clemson's going to go quietly. We got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to talk about Alabama and Auburn wrapping up the season. Kip and Herb, stay right where you are. Welcome back, everybody. Talking Sports. Kip Keefer with you with the legendary Herb Winches, who we're always honored for stopping by. This segment is sponsored by some folks you're well familiar with, Herb. Craneworks.
David Upton, a dear friend of mine, got a beautiful helicopter.
Yes, he does.
And by the way, he's recently got married, got a beautiful wife to go with that beautiful.
Congratulations, David.
He's a class act, and so is Craneworks, the whole family. Family-run business.
What a fantastic company. All this construction you see around town. Chances are about 95% that all that heavy equipment came from this company. They're not just limited to the state of Alabama. They are nationwide and just a fantastic bunch of folks, and we are really proud to have them as a sponsor here on Talkin' Sports. All right, Herb, let's change gears. This is the last show of this season. We'll be back in April, but we've got to wrap up the Alabama and Auburn's stories and kind of look ahead to what we expect for 2020. It's hard for me to even say that. It's 2020?
Yeah.
Wow. Alabama coming off, I thought, a very gritty, gutty performance against Michigan. I thought the team really acquitted itself very well with missing some starters. And in a game, their first non-playoff bowl game in a long time, I thought that was a really solid win over Michigan.
I think Nick Saban everybody would say, well, is Alabama going to fall flat like they did a few years ago in the Sugar Bowl
against Oklahoma?
Oklahoma. They just won't, and they've lost to Utah.
A couple years before.
So how are they going to react? He went on a mission to make sure this team was sharp and ready to go, and everybody was doubting about Mac Jones. Mac Jones proved that he is very capable. And then on the other hand, John Harbaugh is a heck of a coach in Baltimore. His brother Jim, I got to tell you something. He's been a big disappointment at Michigan. But having said all of that, I thought Alabama played a great game. And then, of course, the way they ended the game, it was almost a little shot.
It was.
We're going to score late. And how do you like that, Mr. Harbaugh?
Yeah.
And you can tell there is no love lost between Nick Saban and Jim Harbaugh.
That was an icy handshake in midfield. It was like the total extension.
It lasted about a second and a half.
Yeah, it was like, So anyway, now looking ahead, Alabama finishing up the season in good shape with a win against Michigan. Life after Tua. Tua has made the announcement he's going to the NFL. Mac Jones is the incumbent who, like you said, showed in that game that he can certainly run the show. In the Auburn game, he played well, except for two ill-advised, and one of them was a fluke. It bounced off somebody's back. But the point is, they've also got Bryce Young, the top quarterback in the country.
Nation.
Coming in. So how do you see that unfolding next year?
I was going to say to you, there's two words. A guy that's coming in, a 5-star. Bryce Young is phenomenal. And before I got here this morning, I Googled him, and I watched some of his throws on YouTube. He is a Tua type of quarterback. He's a pocket passer, but if he has to and he's forced out, he can run. Now, he's probably not as big as Tua. He's 5'11", 185. And I'm sure he's on campus now. He'll go through spring that I would imagine they'll be able to put some weight on him as well as he's going to grow some.
Yeah, because he's only 5'11".
5'11". Mm-hmm. He's got one hell of an arm. He can throw it downfield. He can just drop it in the old breadbasket. So I got to tell you something. I think it's going to be between him and Mac Jones, and that's it. And that's good. Competition's good for everybody. So the one thing about Nick Saban, all he does, I call it plug and play. Mm-hmm. He loses a 5-star, he gets 2 more and replace them, plug them in, keep moving. It's like a video game. So I think Bryce Young, Mac Jones will fight it out in the spring.
Real quick, we'll wrap Alabama up. Is the dynasty still alive?
Yes, it is. Anybody wants to sell Nick Saban, who it's hard for me to say this because I worked with the legendary Bear Bryant, and I always considered him the greatest coach of all time, but I got to give Nick Saban credit. He's the greatest coach of all time, and the GOAT, if you will. And I think that if you talk to the Alabama fans, as much as they revered and loved the legend, Coach Bryant, they think he is the best of all time. And a lot of people are saying, well, he's 68, he'll be 69. Let me tell you something. I'm 71, and I'm still in the restaurant business and love it every day. Where is this rule out there that if you get older that you have to retire? Who wrote that law? There is no law. Nick Saban will be there as long as he wants. What else is he going to do? And he wasn't happy the way things ended this year. He's not that kind of person that's going to step away. Nick's got many more good years in him, and no, that dynasty is not dead.
Real quick, let's get to Auburn. Disappointing performance in the Outback Bowl. Gus Malzahn had some momentum for the first time in a long time, beating Alabama and really kind of out-coaching Nick Saban down the stretch. But he parlayed that into a flat performance by his team. The Auburn defense, which was so good all year,
terrible.
Minnesota just ripped them apart. I mean, it was like not even watching the same team. So the Gus bus has a few flat tires again, as it always seems to do. Do you realize, Herb, Gus Malzahn's overall record in his 7 years at Auburn now is 62-31.
Yep.
In the SEC, this is more concerning to me. 33-23, which is basically 4.5 wins a season.
It's very disconcerting, especially, let me throw this other little factoid out to you. Do you know that every time, it is 7 years, he's beaten Alabama 3 times, okay? Do you know what he's done in the postseason after beating Alabama? He's 0-3. And that is bothersome, and all I'm going to say is I support all of our coaches, but Gus always seems to win that one game that he ekes out, and then he hangs on. Because the Auburn family, the Auburn nation, is not happy with him again. They played so flat against Minnesota.
Terrible.
And it didn't make any sense to me. So now you start the spring on a sour note. So who knows? He's got a lot of work to do, I think, with Patrick Nix. Patrick, I think, went backwards. I think he's got a lot of potential. He was a true freshman. I get all that. But when you're playing your 13th game of the season, you're no longer a freshman.
That's right.
And he didn't have a very good game. And what happened to Whitlow? What happened to Boop? I don't know.
They couldn't run the ball. Yeah.
Well, they couldn't, but he didn't even play, from what I can see. Anyway, go ahead.
We got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to look at the NFL playoffs today, the divisional round. Kip and Herb, stay right where you are. We'll be right back. Hey, everybody, we're back on Talking Sports, final segment of this season. And
wow.
We're honored to have Herb Winches with us. We'll be back in April with a whole new array of shows, and it's always football season, so we'll probably start with that. This segment is brought to you by M&M Electric, father and son, family-owned business. Don't do it yourself. Please don't do it yourself. I'm inept in terms of even plugging things in. I won't call M&M for that, but any other electric or power need, these are the go-to guys to call. Herb, let's talk about the NFL playoffs. Today we've got two games. Mm-hmm. The Minnesota Vikings, who went to the Superdome, site of Monday night's championship game, and eliminated the Saints, which in kind of shocking fashion. They were an 8-point underdog. Now they have to go on a real short week. The first game on Saturday, play the 49ers in San Francisco. They are a 7-point underdog here. What do you think?
Well, I will tell you, the Vikings got healthy at the right time. They got Dalvin Cook back,
yes,
a great running back, and he was fresh. He had fresh legs, and he showed that to New Orleans. He ran all over that defense, which was pretty daggone, I'm going to say, kind of ugly, nasty.
Yes.
But he handled that. And then, of course, you got Stephon Diggs, and then you've got
Adam Thielen.
Yeah, Adam Thielen came back, who got injured earlier this week in practice, but they say he's going to be okay for the game later today. That's a big number, but San Francisco, the key is one thing. Their quarterback, Jimmy G. Is Garoppolo going to – he's been the one – it's a little bit inconsistent.
Yep.
Kirk Cousins, you know what you're going to get. He loves to do a lot of dinks, a little dunk. He likes to hit out in the flat and then let his receivers run for big yardage or his backs. Kirk Cousins is undersold, undervalued. Everybody says he's going to choke. I don't know that he will, but I know this. Keep an eye on Jimmy Garoppolo because the pressure is going to be on him, and that's a big number. I really don't have an opinion. I got an opinion on one game that I love, and that's all I'm going to give.
Well, we got about a minute and a half, so fire that one up.
Well, I'm going to fire it up by telling you that I think that you've got Green Bay. They're playing Sunday.
They're playing Sunday night in Green Bay. That's a great prospect.
It's a 5:40 our time, 6:40 kickoff there up in Wisconsin. Ugh. Now, I want you to think about this. The line is 4. I understand in some spots today it moved to 4.5. Doesn't matter. Seattle, they struggled. Even though Carson Wentz went down early in the Philly game, Russell Wilson looks like he's a little bit off his game. They got no running game. None. Chris Carson is a great running back. He's out.
Rashard Penny as well.
And Rashard Penny, the two best backs. So they're struggling a little bit. Now, here's the key to Green Bay. They're playing at home in Lambeau. Did you see the weather forecast? 4 to 5 inches of snow come Sunday night. And not only that, it's going to be 16 degrees. That is my lock of the weekend.
There you go.
I'll take the Pack -4. If it goes to 5, I would still take it. There's my pick.
The Winch cinch, the Green Bay Packers. That's awesome. Herb, we can't thank you enough for coming on to the show. We've got to wrap it up for this show and this season. Enjoy the championship game, everybody. Follow us all throughout the offseason on talkingsports.info. I'm Kip Keefer for Herb Winches. Thanks, everybody. See you next April.
So long.